All right.
Okay, so first question, what were your impressions of graffiti growing up? What led you to think about graffiti this way? Okay, the first thing that comes to my mind, and this is really random, do y'all remember that show? And it was on ABC Family, like whenever it was called ABC Family and not Freeform. And it was about the girl was in love with like the deaf boy. What was it called? It was like, I'm trying to Google it right now. It was on ABC Family, and I think in the show it was like there were two girls. There was like one who was like brunette or like black hair, and the other one was like a redhead, and she was like deaf, and they were separated or something.
Isn't that Switched at Birth or something?
Yeah, I think it was such a word. Okay, yeah. So it's like super random part of my memory, but in the show, the girl with the black hair like has this whole phase of like going to like tag places or like bomb them or whatever it's called. And like she would get in a lot of trouble for it. But I remember after seeing that, I thought it was so cool. Like she literally would create stencils, like she would draw out on like blueprint paper or like that big like parchment looking paper. She would draw out like these like pieces of art, and then she would like go and like run away and like place them at places and then just spray paint on the stencils. So that's whenever I was kind of like, that's actually kind of an art form, you know, it's like somebody expressing themselves. It's not just like somebody writing their name or like, you know, poop on like a wall or something.
Yeah. I feel like for me, besides all like the things you see like tagged on doors and stuff, I remember there was like a kid in my like elementary school, and he would do like a tag or whatever of his name, and I thought it was cool. And then I think one of my teachers like introduced the class to like Banksy, I think in like middle school or something. And I mean that was really like cool. I really like Banksy just like as an artist. So yeah.
I think it just depends, I guess, sometimes, because I think sometimes it can look like, you know, like cool, and like whenever they do like the whole like artwork and stuff, like I kind of think about Austin, like that, where they had like that graffiti wall that everybody would go to the graffiti park.
Oh, the Hope Gallery.
Yeah. Like
Park.
everybody would go there, and it was like a tourist place, and like people were like drawn to that. But like I don't know, I feel like graffiti gets like a bad rep because maybe it's just because it was like it's not, I guess it depends on the subject of the graffiti too. But do y'all know like in Houston where they have the it's, what is it? Is it just, or Be Someone?
Someone.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
and everybody loves it. Like that's like, oh, that's like Houston. Like it kind of like everybody knows Be Someone being in Houston. But then like somebody put graffiti over that, and then people were mad about that. So it's just like, yeah, I guess that can be kind of annoying.
Yeah, I definitely feel like when I was like growing up and like seeing graffiti, I feel like at first like I thought it was like bad because like it was usually like in like the like more rundown parts of like town or something. Like that's where like all the graffiti was on the wall. Like that's where like they didn't clean up as often. So I feel like I just assumed it was like something like bad or like something you weren't supposed to do. But like I always thought it was cool. It wasn't that I didn't think it was cool. I just thought it was like against the rules and like kind of bad. And I feel like a part of that now like brings in a lot of the like appeal for graffiti, like because it's like it's street art, but it's also like cool. You know what I mean? Like they're doing like something cool by like tagging a place, like how you're all saying like we thought that was cool, like doing something like that. It's like really cool, and I feel like because it's like kind of bad, it like gives it that like appeal of like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, like type of thing.
Yeah, I feel that like in the article, I think what do they call it? Like non-threatening ghettos or something. Yeah. It's like I don't
Yeah.
gentrification sucks for that, because like it's cool whenever like there's a piece of graffiti and like things kind of grow like around it, but now it's more like, oh, let's build stuff and put graffiti on it to make it cool, and I'm not super into that.
Yeah, there's such a difference between hiring somebody to graffiti a wall or to make like like a banner or something, and then it just like happening there. I think the Be Someone thing really pissed people off because that probably like was paid for that, you know what I mean? It's like on the side of this bridge, and it's not, you know, in like a very prominent part of Houston. It's like you are entering it, not even like the downtown area. It's just like you're entering like that highway that like takes you into Houston. So yeah, it's much more authentic to have it come from like an actual artist who tagged a place like on purpose. But I also at the same time, I don't know, it's like I could argue in different ways, because the fact that people are getting hired to, you know, paint the side of buildings, or like in that one district, like in Houston, for example, or even like that big wall in San Mo where it's like eat 'em up or whatever, and it's like a big bobcat thing. I mean, that's still probably like giving somebody kind of like a business. You know, they're getting noticed because of their work, and they're also probably getting some sort of payment. So it's nice too, because if you really enjoy doing graffiti, you're getting paid for it. Like, that's great.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. Like, I mean, or like, I think graffiti has definitely like changed through the times. Like, it's still like sometimes upon, but I think it's definitely, people are like wanting it more, and that's what they're doing. They're hiring like graffiti artists to like actually do this and paying them. And like for the graffiti artists, it's actually might be a benefit, and like they're like actually getting recognized for their work and being paid for it. So I feel like that can be also like a huge bonus for them, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's changed my perception of it as well. Because I mean, it used to be looked at as vandalism, and even my mom would point it out, and she'd be like, "Oh, that's so horrible! Like, why did somebody paint over that train? Like, it could have been a pretty train or something like that." And I'd always kind of be like, "Oh yeah, like that sucks. Like now it looks like," it's almost like people thought graffiti would make things look dirty or like dingy because it just had like scribbles all over it. And I almost think it's kind of similar to people's perception of tattoos. Kind of just how it's like, why are you marking on that? Like that's like an art form. Like, why are you like ruining something that was already created to be great? But at this point, it's kind of like, no, look how cool it can be. Look how it can make people feel. Look how it makes me feel. Look how I'm like expressing myself or being able to connect to somebody because of this. So it's definitely, in my mind, evolved from just being like a vandalism example to now being like an actual celebrated art form that a lot of people can appreciate just by staring at it for a second.
Yeah, and I think it can like connect a lot of people too, because like I'm not from Houston, so I don't know like what you guys are talking about with like the like Be Someone thing. But like all of you guys knew like the second like somebody brought it up, and you could all like connect over that, like being from Houston. I'm like, oh yeah, like I know that, like I see it all the time, like this place. I think that's something I feel like that like brings a lot of people together, and it's like a form of art that's just like was considered, like you said, like vandalism.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably why it like pissed a lot of people off, because like the Be Someone thing is so iconic. So like whoever tagged over it like probably knew how iconic it was and decided like, oh, I'm gonna make it not look nice anymore. So I feel like that could totally still be considered like vandalism. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I think graffiti for the most part is very much like considered vandalism for the most part. But like yeah, like I'm not into like whenever people like go and cover up like a mural, for example, like that's kind of like debasing it, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that's like so like messed up, like the amount of work and time that went into that, and then you're just gonna be an asshole and just like paint over it. I just feel like it's very like a hateful thing. But I think that like with like graffiti, it's kind of like in like certain cities, like I think it kind of like becomes like the culture of that city too. Like that's like, I know like I did a project of like about Atlanta one time, and I know they were like really known for their graffiti art, and they like, but I feel like a lot of cities are like known for like certain like pieces of art, like when it like comes to graffiti, like the Be Someone in Houston, the graffiti wall in Austin. Like I just feel like big cities like all have like their one like specific or a few like like culture, like for their city. So I think that's actually can be important for a city.
For sure. I totally agree with that. Yeah, I think it was cool too, like we were talking about certain cities, and like for that one assignment we had to do for this class, when you know, like I forget the name of the it's like really close to Miami.
Wynwood.
Yeah, and you would go, you know, through the maps and like look at different pieces and stuff like that. So it's interesting how it can be such an act of like defiance or a way to speak out because you're just being angsty or something, like by defacing something. But it's cool too because just one or a couple, like I mean there's probably like a whole bunch of like graffiti groups, but maybe like one group can form like an entire like cultural representation of what they think their city is, and people just run with it. It's never something that's like agreed or elected for, or it's like, yeah, like let's all decide like what we think it is. It's like it just happens, and people just kind of support it. Like if you see a cool piece of art, you're never gonna be like, well, some people might, you know, not appreciate it, but do you know what I mean by that? That's kind of a stretch, but
Yeah, I think she like in the article that she wrote, she also talked a little bit about like how there's a guy who doesn't want to put a mural on his business on the east side of Austin because like his property value will go up, which is crazy because like, I don't know, like 5-10 years ago, people would not have been like as into like graffiti and murals as they are now, I feel. But I feel like, I don't know, like in society, people have slowly become more like in tune with like street culture, and street culture is being like the mainstream. Like Kanye West, for example, his clothes comes like torn and ripped up and stuff. Like I think right now what's like popular is like a dingy look. So like, and I mean there's like authentic sources and then there's like inauthentic sources. So
Yeah, I thought it was really cool to see how like the whole town like was in on it, I guess. Like the graffiti, like the even like the storefronts like were like super like had like murals on them, like just like regular storefronts. And I feel like when I was going through, I saw one that was like just a normal white building and like it stuck out like a sore thumb. It looked so weird, but it was like really cool how like it probably started with like one thing and then like the whole town just like embraced that and like made a thing of it, and like now it's just like what it is. And I think it's really cool to see how like the whole town got influenced off of stuff like that, and now it's just like a part of like what it is.
I think it's interesting to see like the different styles of graffiti too, because like everybody has like either like that cartoony look, like is really cool, or like the like kind of realistic look of graffiti too. So I feel like it is cool to see like all those different styles. But this is really off topic and random. But when y'all were walking down like the street on Google Maps, did y'all notice that ambulance? I was like, like literally like putting someone in an ambulance on the
oh my god,
like I literally saw it and I was like, oh my god.
that's insane.
I was like, should I take a screenshot of this? I guess like when I take it's just like it was crazy.
That's so funny. I did not see that.
you should have. You could have been like, what kind of street art is this?
Did y'all, okay, I don't know if maybe it's just like something I picked up on and maybe am tripping about it, but I feel like in the more gentrified parts of Wynwood, like the murals and like the art wasn't so much like it didn't look like it was like created by an artist as much as it looked like, oh, it's like a pattern and it makes the building look cool. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like in the less like gentrified parts, like it was very much like, oh, like that is an art piece, you know, like someone took their time. It's not just like black and white zebra, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
there was one I took a snippet of. It was like a house, and it was like the front of their house, like they just did like a pattern, like a colorful pattern or something. Like I've seen that, and I remember I seen it on a whole apartment building. It was just like it was like something weird. It was like mermaids or something, or it was kind of. I was like, what the heck? Like it's kind of weird for a whole apartment building to be like that. But that I don't think is like just like any graffiti artist like that. That was definitely like the whoa, can I not say that word? Gentrification. Did I say that right?
I think you got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was definitely that part of that area, because it looked very like, kind of looked silly a little bit, but
Yeah, I feel like you can definitely tell which ones are there that are meant to be like art and that are like just like meant to be like trendy and like fit in and like supposed to like look cool for like Instagram versus like what's actually supposed to be like perceived as like art and like someone's like expression.
Yeah, I think it's like what y'all said about the styles too. Sometimes I will even be walking in alleys. I feel like probably even here. I mean, for sure in Austin, but I feel like I've probably seen stuff here where it's like even just like really small things. Like it'll have like a couple words or like a saying, but it's still really tiny. Like it almost looks like it's written in Sharpie or something like that. And like I don't know, that probably is still considered graffiti. But I think it's cool how it's been like it's taken into so many different forms and it never was really like taught. It was just something that people just kind of decided to like change in their own way. So I appreciate like the independence of it a lot. Like, have you ever even heard of like a graffiti class? Or like how do you spray paint effectively or like safely? Like
Yeah.
yeah, that's crazy how they just do it on their own. Like they learn that. Like, and it's hard. Like I know that it's not
so hard.
and I honestly didn't even realize they did like stencils and stuff. I had no idea. I thought it was just like they were really good at like, but I mean that makes sense. There's stencils, but I don't know. This is kind of dumb. But I was like thinking, because when you were saying like, oh, like little Sharpie like on the wall or something, I was like, well, like think about like a bathroom, and there's like just people write their names or write like really horrible stuff on like bathroom walls. Is that a form of graffiti?
Yeah, maybe.
So
It's like,
Yeah.
probably like
it's
not
just
the more artistic form, but yeah.
Yeah, not the artistic side of it. Like that's more like the vandalization side of it.
yeah, and it's like drunken thoughts. It's not really like anything like poetic or really profound. It's just kind of like Chandler was here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like where do you draw the line between it being graffiti and like being appreciated or it's strictly being vandalism? That's an interesting thought for sure.
I think it's definitely just like the whoever I think appreciates it. I mean that's just like art, like everybody has different opinions, and so if somebody finds it like amazing and it speaks to them in some way, then I guess it just depends.
I think we're at time.
Are we?
I don't know.
Are we?
Yeah, because we started at 3:30, so it's been 20 minutes.
Okay, yeah. Well, sorry, hold on. I just need to plug my computer. What should we do for like the deliverable?
I'm kind of at a loss for this one. I can't really think of anything.
I would say just make a graffiti tag, but we already are doing that.
Yeah, that was my thought too.
Oh, let me stop the recording.